You're right to say that we want to improve relations with the EU. We think we can get a better deal than the botched deal that Boris Johnson brought home, and we will work on that, understanding.
Is Britain witnessing the death of constitutional monarchy as we know it? The shocking confrontation between Keir Starmer and King Charles over Ukraine policy has triggered what experts are calling the most serious constitutional crisis since the abdication. While Starmer doubles down on unlimited support for Ukraine, King Charles has voiced concerns about the devastating economic impact on ordinary Britons. With US tariffs threatening £32 billion in exports and 400,000 jobs at stake, the monarchy finds itself in the extraordinary position of appearing more in touch with public opinion than the elected government. The question now is, who truly speaks for Britain?
The new European Commission President says that it will be impossible to reach a comprehensive deal with the UK by the end of the year. Do you then favour extending the transitional period?
If in 6 months' time it's obvious that the deal isn't going to be done by the end of the year, but Parliament has to have the chance to say, look, don't crash us out without a deal. Let us have a say in what happens next, because once we've left, that future relationship with the EU is all important, completely. We will leave the EU in 3 weeks' time, and therefore the debate about leave and remain goes because we will be outside the EU. But it doesn't mean that we stop challenging the government about what the future relationship should look like.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. For centuries, the British monarchy has operated under an unwritten agreement. The Crown stays above the political fray, while elected officials handle the messy business of governance. It's a delicate dance that has defined British democracy for generations. But what happens when that sacred arrangement shatters? We're witnessing precisely that earthquake in real time, as King Charles has abandoned royal neutrality in a way that has sent shockwaves through Westminster. The monarchy's intervention isn't some trivial dispute over palace protocol or ceremonial duties. King Charles has taken the extraordinary step of directly challenging Prime Minister Starmer's Ukraine policy, viewing it through the lens of economic security rather than just foreign relations. With President Trump's trade threats looming like storm clouds over British industry, the king has positioned himself as a defender of British jobs and prosperity in a manner unprecedented in modern royal history. The numbers paint a stark picture of what's at stake. Treasury officials haven't been shy about the potential economic bloodbath. Britain stands to lose a staggering £32 billion in annual exports if Trump's proposed tariffs on foreign steel and aluminum become reality. Even more alarming, over 400,000 British jobs hang in the balance. These aren't just statistics.
In the United States, and Donald Trump has announced he is going to double the tariffs imposed on Canadian steel and aluminium.
Governor of Ontario on the weekend saying that he would impose tariffs on electricity coming into the United States. And so Donald Trump, in response, has issued this extremely lengthy tweet, or 50% on steel and aluminium. He seems to be taking no notice of the turmoil in the markets, which have lost all of their gains.
They represent real families and communities that could be devastated by what the king clearly views as Starmer's diplomatic stubbornness. What was meant to be a routine weekly meeting at Buckingham Palace instead became the flashpoint for this constitutional powder keg. Sources close to the palace reveal that the conversation rapidly deteriorated when Starmer dismissed the king's economic concerns about Ukraine policy. The Prime Minister's apparent indifference to these warnings triggered what insiders describe as a heated exchange, language rarely associated with these historically cordial royal audiences. The political temperature has risen to boiling point, with constitutional experts now engaged in serious debates about the legality and precedent of royal intervention in government policy. Some scholars suggest that if the government appears to be acting against fundamental national interests, particularly economic security, the king might be justified in taking unprecedented action. Its territory so uncharted that comparisons are being drawn to the abdication crisis of Edward VIII, the last time the monarchy and government found themselves in such profound opposition. Meanwhile, Starmer's political fortunes have taken a nosedive that would make even the most seasoned politicians queasy. Just 6 months into his premiership, his approval ratings have cratered to a dismal 30%, with nearly 2/3 of voters expressing disapproval.
You're right to say that we want to improve relations with the EU. We think we can get a better deal than the botched deal that Boris Johnson brought home. And we will work on that, understanding a very strong mandate now, a very strong mandate for change, for a different relationship with the EU, a different way of doing politics, and we go forward in that spirit. We do have to get on with implementing the important changes that are necessary under the existing arrangements that we've got, because we're not going to be able to get a better relationship unless we demonstrate a commitment to the relationship and the agreements that have already been put.
Of his performance. This free fall in public confidence isn't happening in isolation. It's directly connected to his handling of this royal confrontation and his stance on Ukraine policy. What's particularly fascinating is how public sentiment has aligned with the palace rather than Parliament. Recent polling indicates a clear majority of Britons now believe protecting the domestic economy should take priority over unwavering military support for Ukraine. This remarkable shift suggests the British public increasingly views King Charles as the voice of pragmatic reason, while Starmer appears increasingly out of touch with kitchen table concerns. The constitutional tremors have left Chancellor Rachel Reeves in an impossible position. As the guardian of Britain's economic health, she faces mounting pressure to acknowledge the dire financial forecasts that support the King's position. Yet loyalty to Starmer's increasingly unpopular foreign policy puts her in the crosshairs of public dissatisfaction. Treasury insiders suggest she's walking a tightrope, attempting to privately counsel moderation while maintaining public solidarity with her embattled Prime Minister. The abrupt conclusion to that fateful Buckingham Palace meeting has only intensified speculation about what comes next. Palace sources hint that if Starmer refuses to reconsider his position in light of economic projections, Britain could face a period of significant political instability. Some constitutional scholars are even exploring the theoretical limits of royal prerogative during economic emergencies, territory that hasn't been seriously discussed since the post-war period. Britain now faces a constitutional crossroads unlike anything seen in modern times. Throughout history, similar crises have been resolved through political compromise and vigorous public debate. But this confrontation between Starmer and King Charles presents unique challenges. Constitutional scholars are actively debating just how far royal prerogative extends in challenging government policy during economic emergencies, with some experts arguing the king may be justified in taking unprecedented action if the government appears to act against fundamental national interests. The question hanging over Westminster isn't just about Ukraine policy anymore. It's whether Britain's unwritten constitution will be permanently altered. Will Starmer recognize the political winds shifting against him and adjust course? Or will he double down, potentially driving more voters toward Nigel Farage and Reform UK, who have cleverly positioned themselves alongside both the monarchy and public sentiment? As this standoff intensifies, we're witnessing nothing less than the potential redefinition of Britain's governance for generations to come, one that could establish new precedents for when and how the Crown might intervene in future economic crises.